65 years ago, the British Union Jack was lowered and Nigeria's green, white, and green flag was hoisted, signaling the birth of an independent country. With its checkered journey, military intervention, a civil war, many disputed elections, and 65 years after, has Nigeria covered enough grounds to be a reference point for a prosperous nation? Is 1st October 1960 still a moment of joy and celebration for Nigeria, or has the day lost its luster, and why? This is the Eastern Eye. I'm Alex Ogbonnaya. Welcome to the Eastern Eye, a program that X-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. Joining me tonight is Amos Ogbonnaya. He's a constitutional lawyer and Executive Director, Center for Nonviolence and Social Justice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex. My pleasure to be here.
So, Nigeria, in the first instance, the journey has been checkered for the country, enjoyed civilian rule just about 6 years after its birth as a nation, and then every other thing became military until about 1979, and then from 1983 to 1999. So, talk to us about what you can make of the country 65 years on in your opening.
What I can make of the country is that the country has failed 65 years after independence. Failed because of the ineptitude of the leaders and lack of commitment to nation building. The country has failed. Many years ago, we used to say at a time like this, on 30th of September, that Nigeria is failing. But today, I can confidently tell you this country has failed because the basic indices of good governance you cannot see in Nigeria. The security and welfare of the people. Those are the two parameters you can judge any government. But this country has failed its citizens completely without any room for doubt. Now, a few days ago, I've painted a very vivid picture of the failure of this state called Nigeria. Just a few days ago, a new breed lawyer was called to bar. And on her way back, she and her sister were abducted, kidnapped by unknown persons. Till today, Nigerian nation has no way. In fact, Nigeria has gone on as usual. And the president of Nigeria, I have not had any statement from the state as to show that there's a state concern about that tragedy. Just yesterday, Monday morning, an Arise News correspondent was murdered at her residence by armed robbers. Reports said that she was taken to Maitama Hospital and she was still hanging on to life. But the hospital refused to treat her because she was not properly identified. She and her good man. And before identity could come, she had passed. Till today, life has continued as usual in Maitama General Hospital. I haven't heard anything from FCT minister. That means we have accepted these tragedies that beset our citizens on daily basis, on hourly basis. We have accepted this as a new normal. It doesn't bother anybody again. Under President Jonathan, the same insecurity was going on. Our Nigerians were brutalized, villages sacked by terrorists, and the president was busy truncating the entire globe. Today, there's nothing coming from the presidency to show that these two tragedies occurred in 1 week. Nothing. And so, in terms of security, Nigeria has failed. Failed in the sense that we know how this insecurity started. We know the politicians who brought it about. And they have even come severally to mention how they went to Mali, to Libya, to other parts, to Niger, to Sudan, to import terrorists to to come and destabilize Nigeria in 2015 if Jonathan won the election. And then Jonathan abdicated the office for them, and they could not control the marauding band they brought from the Sahel. Up to today, the Nigerian state has not been able to bring these politicians to account. And they are busy talking about 2027. Talk about welfare. Nigeria fared better under colonial rule. Far better. Nigerians can afford 3 square meals a day. And with such a penny, they could buy what a household can feed on for days. Now, check from the day we got independence to today. What we have got is a group of politicians who just chased away the white men and then became white men themselves in conduct and lifestyle. We have failed to build institutions to control social framework in this country. Everybody does whatever he likes, especially if you are in government, and there's nobody bringing you to account. We now see that government is just a recycling of demented political foes that have no idea about how to make this country work. And they are not even willing to make this country work because they have turned the entire system, both economic and political system, into an extractive system. They only extract what they can from it. Whatever public office they occupy, they steal as much as possible. Buying houses in London, in the US, in Dubai, resettling their families, making sure that their families to the 5th and 6th generation escape poverty forever. And then Nigeria continue to rear in poverty. Okay, look at the purchasing power today. When Tinubu was contesting for election in 2022-2023, he said that he was coming to reduce our purchasing power and to widen the tax net. Nigeria struggled to vote against such a man whose only preoccupation in government is to come to widen the tax net. Because you cannot grow any economy by taxing people. People that are majorly unemployed, people that are majorly underemployed, people that are majorly in penury, living below poverty line, and you are taxing them. You cannot grow an economy like that. And then you are widening the tax net. But every effort Nigeria made to elect a president of their choice in 2023 was scuttled by an institution like INEC that has no commitment to nation building, that has no patriotism, that are peopled by individuals that are just after how much they can get, how much they can extort from politicians at every election cycle. These are the people that bungled the decision of Nigerian people to elect the president of their choice in 2023. And that has always been the history of Nigeria. All the elections we have had, Nigeria has never come around electing a president of their choice. What we have had is killing, rigging, snatching of ballot boxes, mutilation of election results, mutilation of ballot papers, and then in the end, the victory goes to the highest bidder. So we have shown the world an unspeakable incapacity. Nigeria has shown the world that we are unspeakably incapable of handling our affairs. Now, we don't know, we cannot handle population. We cannot. Over the years, every population has ended in confusion.
That's right.
We cannot handle ordinary leadership selection process.
We'll take
every election has always been a war front.
We'll take a break and then we'll go to some of those items you're mentioning. We'll take a very quick break here on the Eastern Eye. When we return, Barrister Ogbonnaya will take us on some of the issues he's raising. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Eastern Eye here on Afia TV, a program that X-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. My name is Alex Obodo. Let's talk about some of the issues affecting the country. And before we go to the sectors you mentioned, do you think that Nigeria's problem is a leadership problem or a followership problem? I ask this question because Those who are our leaders currently come from among the followers. Is he a leadership problem or a followership problem?
It's purely leadership problem.
So who are these leaders who are responsible for enthroning the leaders?
We know them. Everybody that has always been the president of this country, everybody that has always been the minister, governor, commissioners, these are the problems of this country. Local government chairman. These are the problems. Because, of course, once they get into office, their preoccupation is not how to better the lot of the people under them. Never. Their preoccupation is not how to construct roads. Never. Their preoccupation is not how to construct hospitals for common people to benefit. Never. Their preoccupation is how to make as much money as possible. This is brazen. In the First Republic, the politicians were hiding their loot. They were discreet in the embezzlement of public fund. But today they throw it around. They throw it to our faces. Now, the local government chairman receives an allocation from Abuja. What is uppermost in his mind is how to steal the money. The whole money, not part of the money, the whole money. And what does he do? He now begins to identify roads that need construction. He will reduce this into a budget as road that is going to construct within the budget year. And in most cases, the money goes like that, off the radar, and the road is not constructed. There are so many roads in Nigeria, internal roads, that have been budgeted year in, year out for construction, and nothing gets done. And yet they appear in every budget. What does that tell you? It tells you that the leaders are committed to plundering this country, not committed to nation development. Okay, look at a president of a country. You know that the country is dying. The country is living on borrowed fund. Despite the humongous amount that departments like custom, immigration declare, Nigerian Post Authority declare every year as income, we don't see this money. Where do the money go? And yet we continue to borrow to fund projects. And after all the borrowing that Buhari did in his term, 8 years, we cannot point at anything that Buhari did with the money. And then this new government has also come in, borrowing and borrowing. And we cannot point at anything that they are doing with the money. How can you borrow to consume? When we are blessed with so many mineral resources, solid mineral, arable land. You cannot commit this arable land to productive economy. But what we now do is to wait for income that comes from oil, that income comes from custom, income that comes from immigration, and then everything is embezzled, and no, Nigeria cannot boast of a good hospital. Every public servant goes to India for treatment, goes to Germany, goes to London, and successive governments since 1960 has not seen the need to make it mandatory that if you're a public office holder, that you must have your medical treatment in Nigeria. Now, they have allowed all our public schools to be run down. I'm a product of public school, from primary school to university. All those years, we received good education. But today, where are the public schools? These public schools have been run down by politicians so as to be able to set up their own private schools and private universities that are thriving today. And then the system continues to watch them run down the public facilities in favor of private facilities. So that is the problem we have in this country. We have not been able to build institutions to check the behavior of people, both public and private. The police was called upon when the Arise News correspondent was embattled in her residence. Did the police come? No. Why did the police not come? The police did not come because there is no motivation. There is no nationalism. There is no patriotism. The police will only come after the event has taken place because they are afraid to engage hoodlums or armed robbers with kinetic energy. Because the average policeman thinks about his family and about his life, not about the nation. And so what we now see is that the police institution has failed Nigerians. The army has failed Nigerians. And as a result of this, Nigerians are on their own. As I speak today, people are being kidnapped on our roads. People are being kidnapped in our communities. The latest attack in Kwara State, news report says that the police disarmed the local vigilante. And shortly thereafter, they were attacked by bandits. So what do you make of a nation like that? Now, South Africa has helped us to give us a list of politicians that are sponsoring these bandits, these terrorists. And Nigeria has not been able to do anything. Successive governments, why are we not doing anything about them? Because these are politicians. And politicians are only interested in winning the election. And so they feel that going after these people would endanger their second-term bid. And so people continue to operate in ways that compromise national security. And the Nigerian nation does not do anything about it. All over the world, there are violence. There are violent incidents. There are attacks of citizens. But watch how these countries respond to such attacks. In 2014, I was in the United States, in the state of Rhode Island, when a young man just picked up and said that he didn't like seeing blacks and started shooting the blacks that he saw. In less than 24 hours, he was arrested by the police. We see a lot of shooting in America, people shooting in private school, public school. After shooting, the American police throws in everything they have. That they will not rest on they bring out that assailant. That is how a functional state should function. But
so you think there is a lack of intensity, especially with law enforcement?
There's lack of everything. Lack of commitment, lack of nationalism. Why? Police sees their business, their job as a means of making money. So if you now go to report to police that somebody attacked you, you first drop money. They want to know how much you want to drop before they mobilize to come and look for the person. You have to convince them that you have enough cash to drop for that purpose. What kind of system is that? And if you don't drop money, nothing happens. Now, most of this security we have in Nigeria, we have seen over the years that most police officers are implicated in the supply of arms to armed robbers, in the supply of arms to bandits. Once in a while, the news throws up such people. They are in the system, but they are sabotaging the system, the security of the people. So, the inability of Nigeria to take care of these things, to respond during emergency, to respond to protect its own citizen during emergency, to even show empathy when a citizen becomes a victim of this security in the country, to show ordinary empathy, it shows that this country has failed and there is no hope for survival if this continue like this. If we continue with this class of leadership, there's no hope for the survival of this country. And so, if this country must survive, we must first of all begin to look at our leadership recruitment process. How can we get INEC to respect the votes of the people? How can we stop politicians from mutilating our votes, mutilating ballot papers? How can we stop them from changing the result of the votes at collation centers? An average governor would tell a returning officer in the state that if you don't declare me the winner of the senatorial election, you are not getting out of this country alive. Wike did it in Rivers State. Omaha did it in Ebonyi. So you see people, governors that have done their second term, they want to go and retire in the Senate. And then they want to win by all means. And people say, we don't want you to send you to Senate. We have a better candidate to send to Senate. And then in the end of it, you tell a returning officer, you will not get out of this state alive if you don't vote me, if you don't announce me the winner. As President Tinubu did in 2023, he told INEC to declare him first and leave the rest to him. What does it show? Now, it shows that other arms of government have failed in their constitutional mandate. The judiciary, the legislature. All government parastatals are now at the beck and call of the executive. Just that. They are just, look at the Human Rights Commission. What exactly are they doing? But every year, we vote money to maintain Human Rights Commission. And when there's gross violation of human rights, they first of all wait to see the body movement of the president. Or they want to see the body movement of the governor, so as not to hurt the sensibilities of the governor, or to hurt to draw the eye of the president. So that probably they could be promoted to higher office, or probably their allocation, their budget will not be withheld. Is it not in this country that the senator confessed that his wife is in the Court of Appeal? Publicly, he said that his fellow senators should thank him because he knows what he has done for them. When the election petition was in the Court of Appeal, he helped to talk to his wife so as to help them to return to Senate. What has the system done about such people? Nothing. Because Nigerian system is run by cabal. These cabal are politicians that have captured the Nigerian state. Having captured the Nigerian state, they do not want to let go. They recycle the public resources amongst themselves. They know who is going to be the president in the next quarter. In 2027, they know who is going to be ministers. And so they do everything within their power to remain in that circle, in that dining table of the cabal. And those who are outside the dining table are struggling to get in. They do everything possible, even sacrificing an arm and a leg to be able to get into the cabal. The governorship forum, the entire governors forum is another cabal, another level of cabal. The local government chairman across the nation is another level of cabal. The presidency is the ultimate cabal. These are the people that extract from the system rather than giving to the system. The Nigerian economy has been turned upside down in such a way that no matter what Nigeria earns, it is never deployed to the betterment of the people of Nigeria. Look at our oil sector. The amount of oil that we get in Nigeria or we sell is less than how much is stolen. Every day, government steal Nigerian crude oil and ship them abroad for sale to individual pockets. P2B has revealed as much. No individual, no ordinary person can go and steal crude oil because the steal crude oil will ship. It is the Nigerian state, it is the government that steal this oil and underdeclare the income, and the rest goes into private pockets. And then the system is not doing anything about it. We have had ICPC, EFCC to check this corruption in high places, but the same cabal, the same system have now turned them into just a weapon fashioned against the opposition. And former APC chairman, Adam Soshomole, had the guts to tell Nigerians that no matter how grave your sin, no matter how much you have stolen, once you cross to APC, your sins are forgiven. He's still in the Senate. So what do you make of such personalities parading themselves as our political leaders? It shows that there's no hope for this country. And the mere fact that Nigerians can never be allowed the opportunity to change these vipers in the highest places, the mere fact that the institutional malady in Nigeria cannot allow Nigerian people to vote freely for a person that will change this narrative, it shows that we are embattled, and it shows that this country has failed.
We'll take another break here on the Eastern Eye. When we return, we'll continue the conversation with Barrister Amos Ogbonnaya. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Eastern Eye here on Afia TV. And so we're still discussing Nigeria at 65, the checkered journey. So let's talk about the impact of military rule in Nigeria. Well, a lot of people still say that the best time for Nigeria is between 1960 and 1966. Do you think that's correct? Based on what we now know about the country, do you think that the military's incursion into Nigeria's politics destroyed whatever structure that could have been built on by successive civilian governments if the civilian regimes continued?
Yes, I believe that the military government was responsible for, they laid the foundation for what we see today. But do not forget that the military intervention in 1965 was as a result of political rascality of the politicians, unresolved political crisis in the Southwest, Operation Wait Here, and then corruption in the system, nepotism, clannishness. If you remember the 5 majors that interrupted the democratic process in Nigeria in 1965, one of the reasons they gave was corruption, ethnicity, and then the rascality of the politicians. That's the reason they gave. Whether it was right or wrong, Nigeria fared better in the First Republic. In the First Republic, we had the lower class, the middle class, and the upper class. But over the years, the middle class has been wiped out. It's either today you are rich or you are poor in Nigeria. And so when the military intervened in 1965 and then the counter coup of 1966, you see, the coup hit at the very foundation of the nationhood of Nigeria, the Nigerian nationhood. Before the military came, Nigerians were divided by tongues and by languages, by tribes, but they cohabited together harmoniously. Many Nigerians in the north, Easterners in the north, went about their businesses peacefully, and they even conducted the election in those states in the north and won. A northerner was in the east here. I think he was appointed a mayor or something in the east. Nnamdi Azikiwe won an election in the west. So, though tribe and tongue are different, but Nigeria saw themselves as members of one nation. Now, when the counter coup came in 1966, led by Gowon, that was when, starting from the pogrom, the first school by Kaduna Zogo, because it failed, this division along tribe and ethnicity became very open. A yawning gap that Nigerians, Easterners in the north started being killed because the military intervention was lopsided in its operation. They felt it was skewed against killing political leaders of the north, leaving that of the west and the east. So that was the first ethnic problem Nigeria had in its nationhood. And then from that, the counter coup of 1966 widened the gap. Because when the northern military officers overthrew Aguiyi-Ironsi, they made it clear that they were for northern Nigeria. And all the operations was skewed against the eastern Nigeria. And to be able to deal with the Igbo nation, they started the balkanizing Nigeria, where that was operating a regional system of government and working very well then into states. They created Lagos State, Rivers State, Cross River, and the rest of them. So that was the beginning of the fall. And when military government came and set aside all democratic structures, there was no checks and balance. And so the public resources was just there for the taking. There was no National Assembly to provide a balance between the executive and the legislature, because the Supreme Military Council was both the executive and the legislature. So that was where the problem started. And eventually, when IBB came into power in 1985, that was the height of the fall. Because IBB came in with a mindset. He didn't come to build, but he saw politics as an opportunity to enrich himself. And what did he do? He liberalized most of the things that Nigerian state was supposed to control: drug trafficking, 419, and the rest of them. And so, under Babangida, the morality of the nation, nationhood, statehood of the nation collapsed. It was sacrificed on the altar of the military officers who sought only aggrandizement and clinging to power. You remember that Babangida was determined to remain to power unto death, until by the circumstances of June 12, he was forced to step aside. So I agree that the military was largely responsible for the sorry pass we have come to as a nation. If the civilian administration, the democratic experience, was allowed uninterrupted from 1960, Nigeria could have been better than it is today. Having been under military rule for many years, the civilian rule that came in 1999 started behaving like a military government too. And so there was no check and balance, and a governor wanted to rule the state as a military governor, not subjecting itself to democratic structures like the legislature or the judiciary. And they started lowering the seed of dictatorship by making sure that those who go to the House of Assembly across the zones of the state are people nominated by them. When the House of Assembly is to be inaugurated, the governor makes everything possible that he nominates the speaker that will be sympathetic to his government. The same thing in the national. Every session of the National Assembly, the president was make sure that whoever emerges the speaker of the House of Rep or the president of the Senate must be the person nominated by the president. And so that was how we destroyed democratic structures. What we have are just the form of these structures and not the substance. Because the legislature continues to be under the executive and cannot check the executive and cannot call the executive the order. Over the years, they have also nominated or captured the judiciary, because our system allows politicians to nominate who becomes the judge. And so as a governor, you are free now to nominate judges. And within the 8 years of your reign, you make sure that the judge is promoted to the Court of Appeal. And so when you begin to fight political battles, you have somebody at the Court of Appeal that you can appeal to help. So the intervention of the political class into the judiciary through the selection of the judges, and the intervention in the legislature through the selection of the speakers and the president of the Senate, are what killed our democracy. So that today we are practicing just what appears to be a form of democracy, but we are proving false to the real power of democracy.
So, typically, usually when Nigeria's independence celebration comes forward, government of the day will either say they are celebrating or they are not. Currently, the government says they are having a low-key celebration. What does it mean to have a low-key celebration of your independence?
Low-key celebration means that there's nothing to celebrate. That is why it is low-key. But we have to have a form of celebration, because October 1 is just a landmark in our nationhood. That is just that. But there's nothing to celebrate. What are we even going to celebrate? Are we going to celebrate the security of the people of Nigeria? Are we going to celebrate the welfare of the people of Nigeria? Are we going to celebrate good roads? Have you traveled across the states? If you travel across the states, you can see that throughout the entire northern and eastern Nigeria, Nigeria cannot boast of any good interstate road. None. You can't travel from Benin to Warri. You can't travel from Enugu to Onitsha. You can't travel from Abuja to Mina on good road. No. But what are we doing? We are busy building a euphoric superhighway. We are building a superhighway, siphoning trillions of naira to build a superhighway to nowhere, whereas your internal roads that you should maintain are not maintained, have virtually collapsed. And we continue to lose the lives of our citizens on these bad roads on daily basis. This bad road continue to be a very vantage point for armed robbery, for kidnapping, for road accidents. And yet we are building superhighway. So it means there's nothing to celebrate, and they know that there's nothing to celebrate. What they have not come to is the realization that our inability to celebrate anything in our statehood is caused by them, the leaders. They still believe that they are doing well, and that is why they are talking about 2027, when Nigerians are being sacked in their villages, being killed in their houses, and all manner of illegalities going on in the country, and nobody is calling anybody to order.
So at the end of the day, do we have an accountability problem in the country? I mean, was it easier to hold government officials accountable in the 60s? Between 1960 and 1966, was it easier to hold them accountable
Certainly
than it is now?
Certainly. You remember, even when the military took over in the 60s, they were this internal mechanism to check themselves. Obasanjo once told a story about how a military officer who bought a car in those days would be probed as to the source of the money that he used to buy a car. Does that happen anymore? It does not. So then, we had accountability. We have better accountability of public officers, not only those political officers, but also those in institutions like the army and the police. Because in those days, you could not live above your means. But Babangida came and gave Nigerians license to live above their means. Nigeria told Nigerians to do whatever they could do to get money. Only to him, if only he is left alone as head of state to continue to rule Nigeria. Anything you wanted to do, go ahead and do it. When Buhari came with his deputy, they tried everything to stop drug trafficking. They tried everything to steal national discipline. And they succeeded largely because Nigerians were held accountable for any social malfeasance. Leaders were held accountable. Even governors who looted public funds before the intervention of the military in 1983 were held to account. And everybody, both in private and public sectors, were careful and afraid of crossing the line. But then the Buhari Idiabo regime was short-lived. When 31st December 1985, there was this palace coup that threw in Babangida, IBB. And IBB has no respect for decorum. He has no respect for accountability. He has no respect for social order. And he ran this country roughshod as he pleased him, as long as it enabled him to accumulate endless wealth that he has continued to enjoy to this day. So the accountability was lost under the military regime of Buhari, of Babangida especially. And since then, we have not come around. What we have seen today is that our government weaponized poverty. An average civil servant cannot boast of ability to buy a car, cannot boast of ability to build a house, cannot boast of ability to send his own children to school. And so the resultant effect of these inabilities is for the civil servant or public servant to make very good use of whatever position he finds himself to steal public money so as to meet this both social and the personal expectations. Because if he restricts himself to his salary, he will not be able to perform his duty to his family, to his children, and to society. And that is the reason why we say that government has weaponized poverty. Because while the political class in the National Assembly and the Houses of Assembly are earning humongous amount that does not reflect the amount of service they give the nation. Those who toil for the nation, the civil servants, the public servants, the civil servants especially, are paid less than the proper wage they should earn. And the worst part, there is no guarantee of an easy life at retirement. Because at retirement, you are not sure of your gratuity and your pension. And you see governors ruling over their state for 8 years without paying civil servants their gratuity and pension. And yet they will thump their chest and say that they have done well. And so when civil servants see the future as bleak, see the future as not sure of getting their emoluments, they have little choice but to soil their hands wherever they find themselves so as to be able to put food on the table. And that is the weaponization of poverty. And that is the malaise that is bogging this country down. That there's no ministry today that you go to and get things done if money does not exchange hands. And when you ask them, they will say they cannot live on their salary alone. Now, while government is not cutting down the cost of governance, while government is living larger than life, while government is indulging in ostentatious living, they have refused to make life bearable for civil servants. Look at the minimum wage. Look at the struggle to make a minimum wage, to raise it from 30 to 80,000 naira. And yet the 80,000 naira cannot buy a bag of rice. So what do you make of such a system? Such a system is extractive, not inclusive. Because Nigeria does not encourage personal endeavors. It does not reward merit. What it rewards treachery and sabotage of the national economy. That is what it rewards. Because those who are committed to sabotaging our national economy are the ones that are getting richer and richer every day. But those who have any sense of patriotism in them, who want to live by the rules, can hardly afford to feed their families. So to such people, Nigeria is unrealistic state. It's an unrealistic reality. But for those who live by defrauding the country, looting the treasury, stealing our natural resources, to those people, Nigeria is working. Because, of course, it is the inability of the system to check their fraud and the inanities. That is why the system is working to them. If you now put the system correct, they will lose their means of livelihood. So that is why they will do everything possible to make sure the system continues in this corrupt state and not to enthrone any government that will change the status quo. And these are the people that steal elections. These are the people that kill for elections to make sure that they remain in power.
That would be a good place to leave it. Barrister Amos Ogbonnaya, thank you so much, as always, for your thoughts and perspectives on the Eastern Eye tonight.
Thank you.
Barrister Ogbonnaya is a constitutional lawyer and, of course, the Executive Director, Center for Nonviolence and Social Justice. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time. Happy Independence, Nigeria. Until then, my name is Alex Obodo. Good night.